Hey everyone, welcome to Earthling Cooks. And today we're going to do simple potato chips. This is so easy, you can season them all different ways. We're going to do a pretty standard seasoning today, but you can put anything you want on at the end of this. So you're going to need 350 degree oil, and I'm using a pot here that I could set to 350. You can use the stove. It'd be great if you have a candy thermometer. Otherwise you can just dip a potato into the oil, and when it's sizzling, pretty much you're ready to go. You're going to need some water in a bowl. You're going to need a mandolin or something that has a slicer on it. This is like my cheese grater and stuff with the slicer. And then just a potato peeler, potato, and whatever seasonings you're going to want. So let's go ahead. I'm going to peel the potato and then we'll keep moving on. I made one side kind of flat when peeling just to make it easier to start this, and the end ones would have been really small anyways. So now we're just going to, and you can see we're getting nice thin chips. Got one really thin one there, that's odd. And we'll go ahead and finish this off. Now that they're cut, we're just going to go ahead and put them in the water. Now what we're going to do is leave them in the water for 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to empty the water and refill it again with cold water one more time, and then let it sit about another 10 minutes. So after I do these 2 cold water baths, come back and continue on. I've gone ahead and rinsed this twice now, and we're trying to get the starches out when we rinse them, so you'll notice the water getting clearer with each rinse. And my water was pretty clear. Now we're going to do one more rinse, but we're going to do it with hot water. Now I'm using my electric kettle here. I set it just below boiling at 200. If you're doing this at home with a stovetop kettle, just heat it up to boiling and then wait about 30 seconds to a minute after you turn off the heat, and you're good to go. So we're going to be adding salt, and I just wanted to talk about these 2 salts. Lots of people think the Himalayan's better, and I agree, but in some certain circumstances it isn't as good. I don't like to add it on after cooking in the oil, just because it's like harder, grittier, bigger pieces. So at the end I like to put on just standard salt, and you could use standard salt for this step as well, but I'm going to use a little bit of the Himalayan salt here. And what we're going to be doing is adding the hot water to our potatoes. And we're going to add the salt. The hot water will help the salt dissolve quicker, and it'll also help slightly start cooking the potatoes, but not much. But it'll also help the salt get absorbed into them since the water's hot and they're starting to cook a little bit. You're going to want to move this around, make sure the salt dissolves and spreads into everywhere. And I used about 1.5 tablespoons of salt. You can't really overdo it unless you go crazy. I would say stick to 2 tablespoons at most. And if you're making more than I am, you might have to use a little more, a little less if you're making less. Depends how big your bowl is. So now we're going to just let these sit for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to empty these out and we'll continue going from there. Now that it's been about 5 minutes, hopefully all the starch that we can get out is out with this hot water helping more get out. And you don't really see people season chips on the inside. Most of the time they just season them after they're cooked in the oil. And I think this is a nice extra step to help just get a nice tasty chip. So we're going to just put them on a paper towel. I just have a cutting board underneath. You can use whatever flat surface you want. And then I also have double length hanging over so I can then pat them dry. So I'm going to get all these out, kind of get them into a single layer and pat them dry. And we got our oil heating up on the right over here to 350. Another added benefit of this step, and I just realized it so I had to say it, I never really thought about it, but since I'm making a video I did. When you take these out of hot, almost boiling water and put them down, they're going to evaporate some water, and they're actually going to dry a lot quicker and better than they would if they were, cold. I just thought that was an interesting fact that just kind of popped up in my head. Now that they're dry and our oil's heated up, we'll go ahead and get them in. And for these I like to put them in one at a time so there's less chance of sticking. Lay them away from you so it doesn't splatter towards you. And we'll do these in a couple batches because they don't take long, and the less you have, the less chance you have of them starting to stick together. So just get as many as in your pan as you think is good before they start to stick. And we're going to cook them for anywhere to from 2 to 4 minutes. It really depends on your oil temperature as well as how thick or thin these were cut. Every slicer is going to be a little bit different, and it'll change the cooking time. Now I'm going to stop about here. I got about half, I think, which is good. And I also don't want to keep adding for too long because I want them to cook about the same amount of time. So I don't want to keep adding for 2 minutes. I want to add everything I want within about 20 seconds if possible. So we'll go ahead and let these start cooking. You're going to know they're done when they start to turn browner and the oil stops bubbling. When the oil's done bubbling, it means most or all of the water is cooked out of them. And I'm going to grab a metal slotted spoon and just kind of flip them over a little bit. You want to kind of keep them moving a little bit and flip them every once in a while too. Lighting's not so great here, but you'll notice some of them are darker than others. That's because when you flip them, the bottom's darker often. So you'll let them sit a bit and then give them a flip so you can get some color on both sides. These were looking great to me, so I just took them out of the oil, let them drain a little bit. And now we're going to throw them into here on a paper towel. And you're going to want to season them right away. So, like I said, I like to just use standard salt afterwards, so we'll throw some of that on. And I also wanted to make these like just a Parmesan chip. I have some extra Parmesan at home, so a Parmesan flavored chip. So I'll go ahead and make sure I got that mixed up good, and I'm going to start my second and final batch here. Here's our final product. Let's go ahead and grab one, just nice and crisp. And very tasty. Easy to make at home. And as you saw, you can cook them up real quick and you can flavor them any way you want. The salt and Parmesan is pretty nice, but you can do whatever you want to them. You guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, happy cooking. We'll see y'all later.